Hasta la vista, baby.
Hey everyone, and welcome to What Did I Miss? Where today, I'll be breaking down the penultimate episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds' first season, and looking for all the Easter eggs and references that you may have missed. This season has really been a roller coaster of different types of Star Trek episodes, and this week continued that trend, with an episode that could be considered one of the scariest and most violent episodes in the history of the franchise. While we have seen some deadly alien species before, none seem to have the animalistic ferocity of the Gorn, as they have been presented as a primal yet lethal enemy unlike any the Federation has faced. This alone is a huge win for this series, as in the past, the Gorn have been more of a joke than a threat, and this is in line with the journey that Strange New Worlds has been taking us on regarding the characters and other aspects of Star Trek that we believe we already know. Not only that, but this episode also included another heartbreaking moment when you least expected it, along with many callbacks to some of the most celebrated alien horror films of the past few decades. And I will go over all this and more here. But first, I want to thank you for clicking on this video, and ask that you please hit the like and subscribe buttons if you enjoy the content here. It is free for you to do, but really does help out a small channel like mine. The title of the episode, All Those Who Wander, is taken from the full quote, "Not all those who wander are lost." This is from one of the most epic stories ever told about a journey, the first novel in the Lord of the Rings saga, The Fellowship of the Ring, and has a few very important meanings related to the journey of a specific character as well as the overall theme of the series. First, it is a reference to the decision that Nyota Uhura is faced with, having completed her cadet training mission on the Enterprise. Now, since the audience knows that Uhura will be on the bridge of the Enterprise for many years to come, some may think that this plotline is unnecessary or frivolous, but I believe this episode shows why these stories are so important. It is true that we know where this character is going to end up, but most times in a story, the destination is not as important as the journey to get there is. Captain Pike himself is another example of this adage, as even his character knows where he is going to end up, which is badly disfigured after an accident in the future that was shown to him in a vision during the second season of Star Trek Discovery. But now he, like the audience, is learning that even though the ending is clear, the journey itself is the more interesting adventure. Cadet Uhura begins the episode with a log in which she not only states her misgivings about her place on the ship, but also the status of their current mission, which is to deliver much needed supplies to Starbase K7. This starbase is a very well-known location for fans of the original series, as this is the setting of the infamous Trouble with Tribbles episode, and then later, the Deep Space Nine episode Trials and Tribulations. The B plotline of both episodes concerned a soft, cuddly, and very horny alien known as a Tribble that the Klingon Empire once fought a great war against.
Hundreds of warriors were sent to track them down throughout the galaxy. An armada obliterated the Tribble homeworld.
Another glorious chapter of Klingon history. Tell me, do they still sing songs of the great Tribble hunt?
I like that this connection was made between Tribbles and the Gorn in this episode, as it seems like a Tribble would be akin to the good Mogwai, and the Gorn are the bad Mogwai that get created after you get Gizmo wet. In fact, later when we see the Gorn hatch, it looks like they pop off their victims' bodies, just like the Mogwai do. Most of the bridge crew is in Captain Pike's quarters, except La'an, who is in a counseling session with a Dr. Sanchez. This character could be another reference to a background character from the original series, as a Dr. Sanchez was featured briefly in the episode That Which Survives, an episode that also featured Dr. Mbenga. I love that Star Trek Strange New Worlds continues to use background characters from the original series, like this one, as well as Transporter Chief Kyle, another reimagined character. Soon they are given a rescue mission and La'an joins them. They learn that a Sombra-class vessel known as the USS Peregrine sent a distress signal, and the Enterprise is the only ship in the area that can help them. In case you are wondering, a Peregrine is a type of Falcon that is known for being extremely fast, and the Doctor confirms that he served on a ship like this and that it was very fast. The Sombra class has not been shown on screen before, but it appears to be designed much like a Constitution-class ship, which is what the Enterprise is, which allows the production team to not have to build new sets for a new ship for just one episode. This may be why it is called the Sombra class, as Sombra is a Spanish word that means shadow, and this ship looks like a shadow of the Enterprise. A landing party arrives at the crash site to find no life signs and trails of blood. Spock also discovers that bridge controls have been rerouted to engineering, which infers that the crew made a last stand effort in that section of the ship. This foreshadows the ending of this episode, as the away team eventually also devise a plan to force the Gorn to engineering. This is also very similar to the beginning of the second act of the film Aliens, in which the Marines arrive at the colony only to find no life signs, and that the inhabitants there create a choke point in one area of the facility to make a last stand. Soon they discover from a log made by the ship's captain that the Gorn are the cause of the disaster, after an infected Orion tried to end his own life and inadvertently caused the ship to crash. The Orion are an alien race that first debuted on the original series in the episode titled The Cage, which also featured Captain Pike, Number 1, and Spock. The Gorn are another alien species that was introduced in the original series in the episode titled Arena. I went into the history of the Gorn in great detail in my video about the 4th episode of Strange New Worlds this season, and I don't want to go over all the same stuff again. But if you do want a history of the Gorn, I encourage you to check out that video, which I will leave a link to in the description. The callbacks to the film Aliens continue when the away team comes across a small girl and an unknown alien. The girl looks very similar to the young character Newt from the film Aliens, who was also the last survivor of an alien attack and barely spoke. I couldn't help but think that the alien protected her looked like a big egg that had been cracked open, which I guess also foreshadows its place later in the story. The team take the 2 survivors to sickbay, where the doctor tries to scan them for injuries to see if they are infected. La'an is pretty aggressive with both survivors, as she has faced the Gorn before and knows that either of them could be a ticking time bomb. I thought that this type of tension was very similar to the tension that was created in the film The Thing, specifically the version made in 1982, as that film also was about an alien that bred by gestating in the bodies of its victims. The Gorn hatchlings emerge from the alien and kill one of the away team immediately, as Nurse Chapel is able to escape by activating the security field around a biobed. It looks as though the Gorn have infrared vision, much like the Predator, another fan-favorite alien monster from the past 30 years that this episode calls back to. But the infrared vision may also explain why the Gorn do not like the cold, since infrared vision tracks the thermal signatures of people and things, which would be masked in a cold environment. Showing the events from the creature's perspective is another technique that both the Alien and Predator franchises have used in the past. Soon the away team loses another member, as newly promoted Lieutenant Duke is attacked and killed by the Gorn. The character's name may be a reference to Bill Duke, an actor who appeared in the first Predator film and whose character Mac was killed from a similar vantage point as Lieutenant Duke was. In engineering, the Gorn attack both Hemmer and Uhura, with them spitting a substance towards Uhura, who Hemmer pushes out of the way and gets hit with instead. This looked very similar to the way a Dilophosaurus dinosaur from the Jurassic Park film would blind its victims with a substance, which was actually not a trait the dinosaur had and was only created for the movie. The team starts to crack, and Lieutenant Sam Kirk almost has an altercation with Spock in which he questions his humanity and calls him a pointy-eared computer. I thought this scene was very significant in understanding the history of Spock, because one thing that he faced on the original series was racism from both his shipmates and the Vulcans on his home world because of his heritage. Most of this came from his interactions with Dr. McCoy, who eventually saw Spock as a close friend, but still, it is important to note that Spock did have to endure racism for most of his life. Of all the away team, La'an seems to be the most in control, as she has faced this threat before, and at times seems to be glad to do so. I thought that her behavior seemed to mirror that of Captain Picard in the film First Contact, as he more than anyone else wanted to fight the Borg head-on so that he could make them pay for what they had done to him. It seems that La'an has a similar drive to fight the Gorn, as both she and Picard were held captive by their respective adversaries and almost assimilated into their dominion. They are able to direct the Gorn into engineering, where they kill the last one by blasting it with cold air. Afterwards, Hemmer starts to exhibit symptoms of infection and understands that soon Gorn will erupt from his body. As a pacifist, even in this state, he is not able to harm another living creature, so he resigns to throw himself off a ledge on the planet. This is a callback to really most films directed by James Cameron, in which one of the main characters must sacrifice himself to end the greater threat. I also thought the scene was very powerful, and I'm sad to see Hemmer go, as I was not only fond of the character, but the fact that he was a blind character being played by a blind person was also very inspirational. In his short time with the crew, he also made a big impression on both Spock and Uhura, and we see at the end of the episode that it appears that Uhura has chosen to stay on the Enterprise and heed the advice that she received from Hemmer. But his loss also leaves an opening on the ship as chief engineer, which could mean that we will see Montgomery Scott on the series sooner rather than later, even though I believe it has been stated before on screen that he joined the Enterprise around the same time that James Kirk took over as captain. We may still get an early introduction of the beloved Scottish character that has been played by James Doohan and Simon Pegg. Also, the 3 crew members that were lost in this episode all wore a different color uniform, which I suppose is a very morbid entry of Enterprise bingo. Another loss, which seems to be only temporary, is that of La'an Noonien Singh, as she asks Captain Pike to leave the ship at the end of the episode. While this probably means that we will at least not see her in the next episode, this could actually be the start of an important arc for her character. I say that because of some leaked production photos of the filming of Season 2 that first revealed Paul Wesley's involvement with the series as Captain Kirk. At the time, the headline was that we were getting Captain Kirk in the second season of the show, but it is also interesting that he is here alone with La'an in these scenes. It may hint that she picks up Kirk on her new mission to find the Gorn, and that the two will have some type of relationship before Kirk is introduced to the crew of the Enterprise. But let me know in the comments, What do you think after this episode, and will we see Scotty join the show along with James Kirk next season? Well, that was everything I saw, but let me know in the comments if I missed anything. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please hit that like button if you have enjoyed it, and I will see you next time on What Did I Miss?